All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. And we're 4 days away from the beginning of the season. And it couldn't come fast enough because I don't know about you, but I was getting tired of spring training. One, because down here in Virginia, we can't really watch a lot of the games. And two, they're spring training games. So, you know, but before we get into all of that, subscribe to the channel, like this video, let us know how you're feeling about this team, how it's turning out. And again, before we get started, Victor, how you doing?
Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys are able to watch the spring training games, with some of them not being on the air, but also, SNY announcing that they're full on MLB app now. So seems like you guys have to pay for the MLB subscription this year, which isn't all that bad because you get some other games and you get to watch some stuff. But I'm doing great, man. Like you said, 4 days away from spring from the official start to the season. We get to watch actual baseball happen on Thursday, and I'm excited for it. Can't wait for all the talk that we've been leading up to in this off season to finally be put into action, because that's what's gonna happen. Everything that we've talked about, everything that we've led up to, the excitement that has been had over this off season is going to be put into fruition in just a few days, and I can't wait.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can't wait either. And that whole SNY app, that's something to keep an eye on. Is are the Mets the first ones to start this move of the stuff that we already were thinking? Is that MLB will have control of most of the rights and get rid of these blackout restrictions and what have you. So is SNY the first one to do it? And are more teams already in the works for next year? So yeah, that's a good point by you. But the rotation is set. McGill makes a rotation. Canning makes a rotation. And Blackburn to the bullpen. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's not about how you start; it's how you finish. And McGill's earned it over Blackburn because one, Blackburn hasn't pitched great, and coming off that injury, he might need a little bit of a slower start, and coming out of the bullpen might give him that. So the rotation is set. McGill and Canning in the rotation.
And I can't be more excited for it. We talked about it in the last show how we thought that Blackburn was going to get the edge because Tyler McGill had that optionality, but they made the right choice. Keeping the versatility of being able to go in and out of starting pitching and relief is going to go miles for us. And I'm a little scared for Paul Blackburn, not going to lie, because the comparison was made to an Adrian Hauser of last year, where he started off as a starting pitcher and yeah, did horrible. Went into the bullpen and then found his stuff for maybe a game or two, and then got DFA'd. I don't foresee that happening with Paul Blackburn. I think he's a little better than Adrian Hauser. I think he just needs to get a little bit. He's got to get over this injury that he had. Is a serious injury, like we've all mentioned before. And starting off in the bullpen might work for him. I hope that it's not well, I don't imagine it to be a strenuous role. I think he comes in for long relief every now and then as he's building up, because I think eventually the hope is to eventually have him make some starts when they need to. Eventually, someone might go down again, or even if this injury is prolonged with Montas or with 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 uh, you know forget Sean Manaea.
Mania or Montas?
Couldn't
Yeah.
get his name out of my mouth. But if something happens and those guys can't come back in time, the 6-man rotation isn't going anywhere. That's still going to happen, especially with the dog days of summer. So Paul Blackburn will get his opportunity, but I'm glad that we get to figure out if Tyler McGill is a major league pitcher or not early in the season. Because if he's not, then we get to make plans without him and not have to have these question marks for the rest of the season. But we get to have this first question mark addressed, and I'm excited that he gets this opportunity, and I hope that he runs with it.
Yeah, I know, and that's a good point about Sean Mania coming back at the end of April or middle of April, latter part of April. And McGill and Blackburn are kind of in a showcase because you kind of reference Adrian Hauser, and he could be this year's Adrian Hauser in the sense that there's not going to be a lot of patience, and he gets DFA'd. You're right, but I think if McGill's pitching well, um, I think that he might get DFA'd, or they're going to send somebody else down in the bullpen. But if McGill's pitching so-so, not necessarily warranting to lose a spot, but because of the numbers, he kind of like Budo did last year. He got sent down when he was kind of doing well, but then had a kind of rocky couple of starts, and he got sent down because he had the option. That might be McGill's fate if he's kind of in that Budo kind of not great start, but not bad start kind of level. So I could see that happening.
Yeah, and you know what this does is this gives us a lot of options, like I mentioned before, because you know who else made the pitching opening day roster was Max Kranick, and that's another long reliever type that we could have in the mix. And so we got three potential starting pitchers pitching out of the bullpen, and that's good news for a guy like Carlos Mendoza when he's managing these games, that he has that optionality to be able, and obviously he's not going to stress these guys out, but he's going to be able to have more flexibility with what he does, where he doesn't have to pull a guy after the one inning of pitching. He can let a guy go 50 pitches if you really wanted to, and that could be an option for him. But excited also because everyone's been hating on him, and this could be uh, of the reclamation project that no one is talking about. But the Griffin Canning experience might be a real thing this year because he's pitched really well in in training, and we know that spring training numbers don't count for anything. But Griffin Canning has shown improvement, even just for the way that he pitched last year. It doesn't scream ace, obviously, but it screams reliable, and that's what we need. A lot of talk was made that we didn't go out and sign a Jose Quintana or even one of these other guys that went late into the off season. But Griffin Canning has proved so far that he's a serviceable pitcher, and he wasn't that expensive either. So gotta give David Stearns the credit there for being able to acquire a guy like this early, and I hope that like Blackburn, he's not going anywhere anytime this season.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Griffin Canning, like you said, could be that project, that reclamation project that nobody wanted. So and um, and he's the guy, that if he's kind of like you mentioned Quintana, replacement for Quintana, he has more upside than Quintana. If he does actually become the reclamation project, and like you said, everybody was clamoring for Quintana because he signed so late. But at the end of the day, we know what Quintana is, and great, reliable pitcher. But he is that. He's just an innings eater. We saw that in the playoffs. He was a guy that wasn't able to, in a different rotation, better rotation, he wouldn't have been pitching, starting. He would have been the fifth starter that doesn't start in a playoff game because he's that guy that eats innings, reliable, but eats innings, but it's not a guy that's going to take you over the top in the playoffs.
Yeah, and hey, shout out Jonathan in the chat. What's up, man? Glad to have you here. We're just talking about pitching, so give us your favorite pitcher that made the opening day roster. It's obviously not official yet, but it's basically official with the cuts that were made just recently. But you know, I would wrap it up in a bow like this. Look at the injuries that happened across town in the Bronx. Look at what they're relying on now. They had to go and pick up a Cookie Carrasco and and rely on. And after that, they're hoping on prospects doing well for them. And so the talk that David Stearns talked about all off season about the depth that he created in the pitching room and the pitching staff this year was getting it to prove itself early on because being able to put Blackburn in the bullpen is proof of that. But also having these guys perform well in spring obviously doesn't translate, but that certainly does scream does talk a lot about our pitching state right now. And I just hope that we can put it together come opening day.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so that's the rotation. Clay Holmes, Tyler McGill, Griffin Canning, Peterson, and Senga is going to be the fifth starter for this go around of the rotation. They're giving Senga as much time as possible, and it's one of those things that it's really showing you that they're not playing the opening day game. They're worried about the playoffs, and they want Senga to be as fully healthy as possible, ready to go. I mean, you really until this week they didn't get into the sixth inning, right? And both McGill and Holmes only pitched five and a third, and Griffin Canning only pitched four in the third. And so I don't think you're going to see more than five innings or so for any of these pitchers, at least for the first time around the rotation. So our bullpen is going to mean a lot. And Reed Garrett, like Jonathan mentioned, is going to be the guy that they're going to be one of the guys that they're going to be relying a lot on, along with the Max Kranichs and the Minters and the Youngs and all those guys.
Yeah, no, and it's great that we can have those reliable guys last year because we were going into the season not knowing who was going to pitch out of the bullpen. I think that was our biggest concern going into the year. But outside of our starting pitching, and we were able to scrap it all together. But the bullpen, the way that it's constructed now, obviously has a lot of injuries to it, but Daniel Nunez not starting on the opening day roster, getting options to the minor leagues is kind of it kind of hurts because I was excited to see him this year. That's probably my favorite pitcher out of the bullpen because he has a lot of upside and potential to take over for Edwin Diaz after that contract expires. But he's got to get healthy, and the way that this bullpen is constructed right now allows him the time to get healthy. But honestly, the way that our bullpen is now doesn't seem like there's much of a weak spot. Obviously, they're not the most exciting names, but when you guys got guys like Max Kranick or even a Danny Young pitching in relief in those early innings, and then you can go into an AJ Minter to set up an Edwin Diaz. That's beautiful stuff that we weren't talking about last year. We talked about Brooks Raley last year, who got hurt early, being that potential guy, and especially to get out lefties. But I think it's nice that we have a reliable guy that can even close games in AJ Minter to be that setup man, and even a second lefty, not called Jake Diekman, and a Danny Young, because although there's a lot of talk about Danny Young not being proven, I really don't think that he was given a lot of opportunity last year to do that. And I remember when he was called up the first time and pitched lights out, and then Edwin Diaz came back from injury, and they had to option one of these guys, and Danny Young ended up being that guy instead of a Jake Diekman because he just had the optionality. He was He was lights out when he first came up, and I think he still has that potential. Obviously, he's more wild than we like, but I'm excited for Danny Young and the season that he's going to have this year because I think it will it will do it will be great. But last thing on this, with the bullpen that we have, there were guys that were sent down to the minor leagues that will definitely be called up later this year, and so just speaks to the depth again that David Stearns was able to create this year, and the maybe even the farm that we're building up as well. But no complaints about the way that the bullpen is constructed now, going into opening day.
Yeah, and absolutely, and another guy that they're working up slowly and want to 100% out of is Nunez, and a guy that you just mentioned that could be closer potential for the future, and they're gonna treat him with kid gloves. I think last year they kind of rushed him a little bit, and because we needed him and it got him hurt again to the point that now they're treating him with kid gloves and making sure he's 100% right before he's out there in major league games because it's a little different, especially for Daniel Nunez. It's going to be a little different this year in AAA. He's more going to be working on his stuff um, versus him worrying about an actual roster spot because once he's ready, he'll be back. He'll be back up here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and Jonathan put out Jorge Lopez in the chat. It's crazy. I forgot that he was closing games for us. When Edwin Diaz, what was it that he was hurt? Yeah, he was rehabbing. We had like a crazy stat where we had maybe 4 or 5 or maybe 6 different pitchers that were closing out games for us, and Jorge Lopez was one of those main guys. So yeah, it's gonna feel good having that AJ Minter in there when Edwin Diaz isn't available.
yeah, AJ Minter, Ryan Stanek, those guys all can close when Edwin's not available. So yeah, perfect. So let's segue to the last roster spot. They haven't officially named it with Acuna, but we do know that Walton got sent down to the minors, and so the question is, Mendoza in his press conference did not want to confirm if Acuna was making a team or not. He wanted to keep the options open because um, they're gonna look in that waiver wire, see who breaks free, and if there's a veteran that they like, I believe Acuna is destined to AAA.
Yeah, and that article that S1Y put out there mentioned a guy that I'm not too familiar with, but um, you know, I'd hate to see Luis Angel go down to the minors. To be honest, I've been convinced that he deserves to be in a major leaguer, mostly by Francisco Lindor because of how hard he's been advocating for him, and maybe not even just advocating, just putting it out there that he might be tired of AAA pitching and wants to be under the bright lights. And I can't blame him. You know, he hit 6 home runs in the time that he was up here, and batted to like a 900 OPS last year, and his spring numbers haven't been terrible either. And so I do think that he's going to be a good addition to this team. But I will go with you because I'm going to steal the words right out of your mouth. It's going to stink to see him ride the bench for most of the time that he is up here.
Well, and you know, you brought up the article about the Lindor saying he's bored, and I don't know if that's advocating for him. I think that's more calling it what it is that he's a player um, that needs external motivation. I know that some guys do better when they get to the big leagues, but we all knew coming into the season, coming into spring training, that he was in a competition with Beatty. If that's not motivation enough to at least get going and not be bored, I'm sorry to tell you, he's not a veteran. You know, and Lindor having the spring training that he has, Because Lindor has had a terrible spring training. I don't care. It's Lindor. You know what I'm saying? But Acuna, who hasn't proven anything other than 2 weeks in the majors, we keep hating on Beatty, and Beatty's had good 2 weeks as well. So, to me, this is a red flag. To be honest with you, to me, this is a red flag because the guys that are the best in the game find little things to motivate them. Little things. Look at Juan Soto. When he saw that pitcher from Japan that threw that weird pitch to him, he got motivated by him, and in the spring training game, you know what I mean. And so those are the things that the best do. They motivate themselves when they need to. They don't find motivation by playing in the big lights. They find the big lights. They look for the big lights. They make up the big lights in their own mind because they got to create motivation. And so, for me personally, this is a red flag, and I think we need to find a trade partner quickly for Luis Acuna.
Yeah, I don't think it's such a red flag per se, because that's saying that we got to pump the brakes with this kid because he's going to turn out into Fernando, or one of these guys that go off the wall, Wander Franco type, and
No,
he's
no,
gonna,
no, no,
well,
not
not
not not
Wander,
that.
but you know what I mean. He's going to be someone that is not reliable for this team, and what I think where I think you're wrong is his glove makes up for all of the unreliability that may be caused uh, because of his lack of effort. Because we have a guy on the team that is not is very Jekyll and Hyde because of the motivation has been a question mark for him in the past several years. And he had that motivation in 2022 when he won the batting title. But Jeff McNeil was one of those guys where you thought, this guy needs something to play for. But at the end of the day, he's valuable because he provides that defensive versatility. And Luis Angel does that. But not only that, he provides an A+ glove at every position that he's playing. And so, regardless of if he hits well, which he has, he's going to be at the least a very beneficial defensive player, and that you can't go wrong with that. But I will say he has been hitting in the minor in spring training. His OPS doesn't reflect that, but he started off spring bad, which a lot of them do. But he finished off, or he's finishing off. Did they play the last game? No, they have a couple more.
Yeah, they have one more game tomorrow.
Yeah, and they have one more against the Yankees. But they but he's been picking it up. He's been able to n- not at the level of Beatty, but be a serviceable second baseman or shortstop or wherever you do have him. And so he's not going to be this superstar, and that's what I think my point is. Don't think of him as this superstar, and I've already established him as not a guy that's going to blow us out of the water like most people have deemed him to. I think he's going to be an A+ glove with the guy that with a couple of RBIs now and then. We saw that in Luis Guillorme, where he was uh, serviceable at every position in the infield, but now he's even more valuable because he can be that on in the outfield as well. Um, the floor here, I think, is a guy like I don't know. I don't know how to compare him but I do think that he provides value to this team.
I don't know. To me, it's a red flag, but I would not compare him to McNeil in the sense that McNeil, I don't think was motivation. I just think he just wasn't finding the bat on the ball, and because you know, he showed his frustration on him not being able to hit. Right, that's part of one of the reasons why we don't like McNeil. so much is because he pouts too much. You know what I mean? It wasn't that he's bored; he's pouting and that he's not getting the hits. This is a little bit different because when you know find the motivation, one guy that we talked about that everybody wanted back in Jose Iglesias. Um, that guy, he's not a superstar. Awesome glove, but that guy finds the motivation to keep playing. He's what 35 now, and he's still trying to find the motivation to keep playing. And for me, for a guy to say that he's bored when he hasn't proven anything, to me that's a red flag for me. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, but at the end of the day, these are all Francisco Lindor's words. He hasn't said this for
No,
himself.
if you read the article, he didn't completely refute it.
Well,
Um,
obviously, he wants to be in the major leagues. He's going to advocate for himself to be in the major leagues, and his numbers have improved in the minor leagues enough to say, or who's going to say, yeah, I was trying my hardest, but things just didn't figure it out. Send me back down so I can go do that. No, he wants to be in the major leagues. He wants to be a major leaguer, and he wants to play major league ball. And I don't blame him. Uh, he's just agreeing with Francisco Lindor, and he's not wrong to. But I won't say that he's ready, but I won't say that I wouldn't hate if he's on the team. Obviously, he still has a lot to prove in AAA. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't, then we got what we got in Luis Angel, which is a good backup infielder.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's the truth. Because of his glove, he can always be a backup infielder. But he's got to prove it that he wants to be up here, and because you can get your Waltons, your defensive backup infielders anywhere. Luis Angel is at this point a little bit more valuable than that because he's tradable. So a guy like Walton isn't tradable anymore because we know what he is. And if Luis Angel's floor is a backup, utility type guy, I think the time to pounce on that trade is now and find a trade partner. But who knows?
I just don't want to be the team to just trade him just to trade him. Until there's there's obvious interest for him, and obviously we're not going to hear about that. But there's only one name that I'm interested in training for, and Luis Angel is not going to get him without a some other top prospect in our system. Because at the end of the day, he's the number 7 prospect in our system. So he's
Are
not
you
even
are
top
you talking are you talking about our future ace and the guy that you drafted in our fantasy draft?
number 1 overall. And I did it again, Sandy Alcantara. Um, he's
Yeah, obviously Acuna is not going to be enough for Sandy, but we'll see. Acuna is good. If he does get traded with for a guy like Sandy, one, it's not going to be now, and two, because the Marlins are going to try to build up his value, and two, it's going to take more than just one prospect, no matter how good he is, because at the end of the day, he's just a prospect for Sandy. But yeah, kind of hated the fact that you took him first round because I was going to take him, but it's okay. For all those listening, first round for a pitcher, yes, because we do a keeper league, and so he was the best pitcher available because he did pitch last year. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, just like Jonathan said, Sandy baby, let's get him. But we'll leave that for a July podcast. Now let's get into the season, bro. Let's get into the predictions. What pitcher do we think, and Jonathan, you can answer this too, which pitcher at the end of the season is going to end up as our ace? Is it going to be Sean Manaea once he comes back from injury? Is it going to be Kodai Senga? Is it going to be Clay Holmes, our opening day starter? Or could it be David Peterson? Well,
or
I'll
could
let
it
you
be
go first.
Sandy Alcantara? No, I'm playing. We'll go with the guys that are on our roster now. So it's for the simplicity of the exercise. But I deem um, ace as a different language than most. What I Because what we're talking about for the season at least is who's going to be the most reliable pitcher, who's going to pitch the most innings, who's going to cause less stress on our bullpen at the end of the day, and who's going to not necessarily get the most strikeouts, but be the most efficient. And that guy to me is going to be David Peterson. I know that this guy was a breakout last year because of the hip surgery, and he's not the conventional ace that everyone talks about because he's a ground ball pitcher, or no, he's a fly ball pitcher, right? So he doesn't get the strikeouts like most people, like most aces would, and so he's not called an ace. But this guy has been reliable for us. He pitches in every situation that he needs to, and he's going to be here for hopefully the next few years. And so I think that he's established himself as a major league pitcher, and he's going to go even further and establish him as a top three pitcher in this rotation. Obviously, there's going to be guys that with better strikeout numbers in our rotation, and he's not going to get the ball for Game One of the NLDS in the World Series, but he's going to be the guy that gets us across the finish line uh, of the 162.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad pick if we believe that David Peterson is going to continue to progress. He's a guy that we definitely can rely on. And you're right, the term ace gets thrown around too much, but and in this instance, we are talking about our most reliable pitcher because we don't have a quote unquote what we consider an ace, right? Aces are like Sandy Alcantara, Corbin Burns, Garrett Cole, those type of players, Justin Verlander in his heyday, those kind of pitchers. Those are the aces, right? Those are the type of pitchers that we're talking about. And in this exercise, yes, we're just talking about um, the guys that it's going to be our best pitcher. When we say ace, in this instance, it's going to be our best pitcher, and David Peterson is a guy that could potentially build up to that. As we all know, lefties develop later, and after that hip surgery, something's turned around for David Peterson, and it looks like he could be that guy. So I like that pick.
Yeah, and I'll add this too. Who gives you the least amount of anxiety going into a start when you're at the end of the day? Because sometimes those Sean Manaea starts get me stressed out. Those Kodai Senga starts get me stressed out. David Peterson, even keeled, gets the job done, or goes into work, goes into the office, and gets the job done. And you know what you're getting with David Peterson, and gives me the least amount of anxiety. So I'll add that. Shout out Jonathan. Already shouting out the baby Mets, the baby aces of the future, and hopefully some of those guys do turn out to be aces, especially with what we saw in Christian Scott last year and with Tidwell. Tong in spring breakout, and with Sproat in this past year. Let's hope they all put it back together and are able to come and provide that excitement for us at the major league level.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the baby Mets are coming, and hopefully, we we see those guys as relievers at the end of the year because I think if they turned out to be our aces, we're kind of in trouble. I think Jonathan alluded to that, because beginning of the season is going to be kind of rough, but hopefully that doesn't happen. So my guy, the guy that I'm picking, and it might be one of these type of pitchers that's an every other year kind of guy. And 2 years ago, this guy was a top Cy Young vote getter. So my guy is gonna be injury free and ready to pitch. Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga is gonna be that guy this year. He's gonna come back and have a similar season like he did 2 years ago, and get up there with Cy Young votes. And he might be one of those guys that is like one of those every other year kind of guys, which is unfortunate, but he could be one of those guys.
Yeah, and I don't hate it either, because if he goes out and pitches for us like an ace this year, then that has big implications for us, especially going into the postseason. So if we do so get there, and I really do think that that 6 man rotation is going to help him out. You know, he mentioned he knows his body, and I think knowing your body knows that you need that 6 man and that extra day of rest, being on that normal schedule. In Japan they pitch 1 day out of the week, and that's gonna be his opportunity is to pitch 1 day out of the week. And so I think that's a great pick, especially with what he's been able to do and make batters look silly. Everyone's going to be shouting that he's the ace of the Mets if he's able to do what he did in 2023.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. That's what I'm expecting from Kodai Senga, and I'm ready to hear the Senga chimes are all over City Field. So let's get it done. We're going to move into the batting side. We're just going to do a simple top three prediction. Who are going to be our top three hitters? We got a strong lineup, and there's a lot of guys that. Can be top three. We didn't want to do top hitter because we all know that we're going to have the same guy in our top three. We might even have two guys in our top three that are the same, but that third guy could be anybody. And so I'm gonna kick this off for since you kicked off the pitchers. Um, Top three, it's got to be top one. It's got to be Juan Soto, right? The guy's gonna uh, be MVP caliber year. Hit you 35 home runs, over 100 RBIs. That's what I'm thinking. Soto's going to do right along with him. With similar numbers, but obviously he's going to come out differently. Maybe not 35 home runs, maybe 30 home runs from Lindor. A bunch of steals. At least 30 steals from Lindor again this year, and you know, being our leadoff hitter. And here's my pick for the third guy, right? You guys got, you can go from Alonso, from Nimmo, from Alvarez when he comes back, because hopefully he comes back by the end of or the middle of May, sometime around there. Um, you know, um, Lindor had the season that he did from the end of May on. So he can still have a major contribution to our team this year. But I don't think there's going to be a sophomore slump, or in this case, sophomore slump because he's not a sophomore anymore. But the third best hitter of this lineup, it's got to be Mark Vientos. Swaggy V, baby.
Nah, I can't hate it. Can't hate it. Mark Vientos broke out last year, and let's hope that he can keep the high times going because and Jonathan's with you. You got Swaggy V being that third best hitter. But for me to be that third best hitter in this rotation, because obviously our top two are the same. Lindor is going to be the main bag stealer, which is going to be interesting because we don't have many bag stealers. So he's going to have to be that guy that gets on base at a high clip and steals a lot of bags. And obviously, that's not always necessary with Juan Soto batting behind you, most likely. But at the same time, it's going to definitely help when Juan Soto gets that base hit and you're able to round third and go home because of it. Especially because Juan Soto doesn't steal a lot of bags either, and so his game is going to be mostly driving runners in, and Francisco Lindor. I think that's going to be the main reason that we're calling him MVP is the stolen bags this year. He might not get the 30 home runs like he always does, but I do think that he gets that 30 stolen bases mark. So with that, obviously Juan Soto's one, Francisco Lindor two, but how can I abandon my loyalty and my fandom and what has brought me in to uh, this craze? He's fed so many emotions in this past year, and has made me even more of a Mets fan than I was last year because of what he was able to do for me. And so I can't go anywhere else but with Pete Alonso being the third best hitter. Swaggy V is, I don't think that he's going to regress, but for him to get on Pete Alonso's level, that means he's got to hit 40 home runs. And I don't doubt that he's going to be able to, because if he played at 162 last year, I think the numbers projected that he would. But at the same time, Pete Alonso on an average year is hitting 40 to 45 home runs. And so, that's just going to provide so much. And he's got something to prove. Not that he didn't last year, but he's got to play with an even bigger chip on his shoulder this year if he talked all that talk in the offseason. And unfortunately, I don't want to see it end. But this is probably Pete Alonso's last year with the New York Mets, and so I want him to go out with a bang and solidify himself as maybe not even just the third best, but the second best hitter in this lineup.
Hey, I'm gonna hate on it a little bit. No, I'm not gonna hate on it at all. I'm not gonna hate on it at all, because at the end of the day, we can have all the emotions, like you said, a lot of emotions with Pete Alonso, and I had those emotions all season long, all off season long, and all season long actually. But at the end of the day, I root for the front of the jersey, and I want Pete to do well. So I'm not gonna talk down Pete at all. I hope he does get his 45 home runs. I hope he opts out, and we say thanks for all the memories, Pete. Pete, yeah, I don't hate that. We'll see who's right at the end of the season, and we'll record these and make sure what our season predictions. Maybe we need to have some type of wager going on with these votes. We'll have to decide that later. But before we end the show, let's go with our season predictions for the team. How many wins the team's going to have, and what place are they going to finish the season in? And so we'll go back to you. Let you get started.
Yeah, I have some bold predictions for us this year, and it's gonna be I'm either gonna look like a fool or look like a psychic with what I'm gonna throw out there. But I think we're gonna win 100 games this year. I think we're gonna get there, and we'll probably just get right at that 100 win mark, if not that 99 win mark. I'm not gonna change my mind though. We're getting 100 wins, 100 exactly, 162 um, is going to be our record, and it's going to be because we have so much production from the bottom three of our lineup. Jonathan in the chat mentioned Jose Siri going off this year, and I don't think he's wrong. Jose Siri was batting in Tampa last year, and the year before that, he was batting. He had put up some crazy numbers, and drove in 20 home runs, in that year. And I don't think that was a crazy thing to predict for him, especially batting in a place like this where pressure's off, where he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder too, because he's going to have Juan Soto as a teammate and playing on a championship vying team. I think that he's not only going to go off, but you're going to have guys like Brett Beatty break out this year, Louis Sonhelp maybe, but Jeff McNeil might get back to that batting title place. There's so many wild cards in this lineup that I feel like we're just sitting on a special season, because I think everyone in this lineup is due to go off. We had guys pop off last year, and Francisco Lindor and Mark Vientos, but they were just waiting on these other guys to put it all together. guys like Brandon Nimmo. You mentioned Alvarez. I mentioned Jeff McNeil. Um, even a guy like Luis Torrens can play a big role in this year and being able to provide uh, a decent uh, backup catcher role for us. So all these things are going to lead to us saying, "Wow, we have the best lineup in baseball, and nothing's going to stop us." The only caveat that I put to it this year is what I did last year: is our pitching's got to match up to it. We can't just rely on winning these 6-5 games, these 7-4 or even higher games, because that's not going to cut it. Starting pitching is great this year, and especially in our division. And obviously, 100 wins means we're contending for a division. Uh, 100 wins, 101 wins didn't win us the division in 2022, but I do think that it wins us that in 2025.
Yeah, no, that is bold. Because we do have a tough division, so it is bold, but I'll take it. Jonathan has us at 87 wins. I do agree with both of y'all that we may be surprised by Siri. If we're not, there's some young guys wanting to take his spot. So, but I do see him doing well, surprisingly well. So let's hope that happens. And I'm gonna split the middle. I think we're gonna be around 95 wins, and like you said, it doesn't guarantee us the division, but I do see us landing in second place. I do predict that the Braves are going to bounce back and take the division. Um, um, because they're going to have a healthy Acuna, Strider's back, and they're going to be tough to beat. During the season, because like you said, um, during the season, we might see a lot of high scoring games because the pitching isn't going to be the main cog for our team, at least in the beginning of the season, right? Not only because we don't have a true ace, but also because they're going to be slow walking these guys, right? We talked about in the beginning of the show where these guys are not going to pitch more than 5 innings, at least for maybe 2 times around the rotation. Because they're trying to take it slow with these guys, and so we could see high scoring games in the beginning of the season. A lot of games played because offense wins the regular season. Uh, Pitching wins in the playoffs, and so that's what I see is winning offensively in the regular season, and just like last year, our pitching start to lock it down towards the end of the season.
Yeah, we both agree that pitching is going to be the wild card this year, but I'm confident in what we're able to build. Clay Holmes is going to be that wild factor, that wild card that we're going to see this year if he really has that. And that's really what it's going to come down to. It panned out for us last year that our pitching was up to par with everything that was going on last year, and I think we're in a better state this year, and not because of we have a better starting rotation, but we have more depth in it, and our bullpen uh, has proven or looks to be. It hasn't proven anything yet, but it looks to be in a better state than it was at the beginning of last year.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's going to leave it there. We're excited for the season. Can't wait for Thursday. But again, before we get out of here, subscribe to the channel, like this video on replay. Give us your comments. Let us know what your season predictions are. How you're feeling about the rotation. What do you think about Acuna? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And before we get out of here again, Victor, any last words?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Obviously, we did our MLB draft today, and that kind of got the juices flowing because baseball is here. Baseball is finally here. Next time we talk to you guys, we're gonna be breaking down the Mets, and that's an exciting thing to talk about. All right, let's go Mets.
Absolutely. Let's go Mets.